Yo, what up? This is Matt, the Steamroller Frivola. I'm gonna need you guys all to tap into the D'arce podcast for all your MMA bets. Let's go.
Jasmine Jankovic is here. Don't forget to tap into the D'arce podcast.
The D'arce choke is a submission executed from the front headlock position. It involves encircling the opponent's neck with the crook of one's arm, while the other arm wraps around the opponent's arm, applying pressure, leading to a tap or unconsciousness.
Tap into the D'arce podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from down under, Perth, Australia. UFC 3, I cannot do that accent. UFC 305, here we are with a stacked pay-per-view from Australia. A lot of Australian fighters featured, and I couldn't be more excited for it. I'm here with my guys, Mr. Plus Money, Slick, Montana, and Cal on the ones and twos. This is the D'arce podcast. MMA picks and analysis for you every week, and we're coming off an interesting fight night in Vegas at the Apex with Spivak, the first heavyweight armbar since 2020. Mr. Plus, I know last week you were on the Polar Bear. What a finish. Did you expect that?
Wow. I don't. Did we expect that? Probably not. Nobody expected that, but we did expect him to win the fight and finish in under 3.5 rounds. So I mean, that all happened. But yeah, first round armbar. That was a little different. Unfortunately, our boy Damon Jackson didn't get the dub. I would still take him in that fight all day. However, Chepe looked mean and aggressive, and even though he looked really crappy on the scales, he made up for it with his fight. And afterwards, he apologized and said, "I'm usually on point. I usually come ready." And I liked everything that he said in the post interview as well. So I'm still a Chepe fan. I'm still a DJ fan. But moving on, that seemed like our only L.
And we were big on Damon Jackson this week on the podcast, of course. Hey, man, the scores are ugly at the end, the 30-25s, but they're only ugly because he fought his ass off to the very end. Like, he never gave up. So you give him props, even at a loss. Chepe was just a little too much. Slick, what about Danny Barlow? Fraud check, or was it just a weird performance? Like, what do we think of him after that one?
I wouldn't say fraud check. I still think he has the stuff that we all know him to have. He still had that power. I just think, honestly, we underestimated his opponent a little bit too much. You know, that Michael Morales loss that isn't looking too good. I mean, isn't looking too bad right now. He's actually looking pretty up there right now. So I think, honestly, I just think we overlooked his opponent a little bit too much. And Danny Barlow, I wouldn't say he did, but I just think he probably thought that he was going to have success with his power. And then after that, he had to adjust to just the slow state of a 3-round fight.
Ended up being a weirdly technical, uneventful fight for a while, and he's lucky that he did enough to get the first 2 rounds because, yeah, he was kind of laboring and hands down, looking at the clock and the back half of that last round. So we're glad that he got those first 2 wins by split decision, and we move on from UFC Vegas into a much more highly touted card in Perth, Australia. Here we go, fellas, live from down under. I can't be more excited with titles on the line, middleweight belt. Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. Make sure, guys, that you're subscribed to the pod, that you hit the like button, and that you're firing away in the comments, fires, emojis, your thoughts, whatever it be. Help us boost the algorithm and grow the channel. And let's get right into things. All aboard the Mr. Plus Parlay Bus. Last week, you better have had your bus passes because it cashed, baby. So let's do it all over again. You got 3 great fights to talk about. I'm ready to hear about all of them, man. Who are you putting on the bus this week?
Who likes cash in UFC parlays? If you just said, I do, then let's all take another trip on the Mr. Plus Parlay Bus. Yes, like Danny said, we cashed in last week, and we're looking to cash again this week. 3 fighters that I think are getting the job done. We're going to start off with Jenkins, man. Jenkins is fighting one of our favorite, Burns' little brother, Herbert Burns. We should call him Herbie. This guy can't make it past the first round. He came in on a heater into the UFC, but now that he's fighting real competition, the guy gets gassed out when you grapple up against him, keep him up against the cage. I think that's exactly what Jenkins can do and should do. He's going to be the stronger, bigger, more physical guy, and I think I've seen his line open at a minus 550, who's now a minus crazy 800. I wouldn't even put him on the bus usually, but I think this one is an easy dub for us boys, and I don't think we should have to sweat it out. I know my dude Slick loves that second round finish by Jenkins. He's the first leg of the parlay bus. Leg number 2, we're jumping right over to one of my favorite. This guy is dangerous. Carlos Prates. Man, he's looked electric. And honestly, Jinling Yi.
Nope. Stop playing with my name. All 3 of y'all. Stop playing with my name. I ain't gonna say it no more.
The Leetch. I like this guy. He's made me money before, but he's just not active enough, man. This guy doesn't fight enough for me to want to back him up. And someone that does fight a lot nowadays, Carlos Prates, man, seems like he just fought, 4 or 5 months ago? He got the job done. I think he gets the job done again. I think that Jing Ling's going to leave himself open. And those crazy out of nowhere strikes, elbows, the big knees up the middle. I really think Prates is just going to hit him too hard and be way too physical. He's got the reach advantage. Give me Carlos Prates for the second leg. And to finish out the Mr. Plus Parlay Bus and cash us in yet again, I'm going with Steven Erceg, man. He just came off that title fight against Pantoja. He looked okay. He did get beat, but Pantoja's another level, man. Erceg, I think he's going to be way bigger than Kai Kara France. He's going to be more physical, and I just think he has a better overall fight IQ, man. Give me Erceg to get this done by any means necessary. He's still on the come up. I just think he might have got his title shot a little bit too soon and woke up, a little bit more, little reality check. But I am going to take him to finish off the parlay bus and cash us in yet again, boys.
Wow, 3 very interesting fights you're talking about here, and I got to cover all of them with you because you broke down Jack Jenkins first versus Herbert Burns. And yeah, you mentioned Slick likes that round 2 finish look. Burns really does have 5 minutes of cardio, right? He's got that grappling attack in the first round, just like his brother Gilbert, dangerous jiu-jitsu player. But after that, there's no real MMA base, right? What's the other skill sets? What do you do after it does, if that doesn't work in the first 5 minutes? And Jenkins is a tough dude, man. He's a hard-hitting kickboxer. It's like he throws that mean low kick. I think he could punish the calf of Herbert Burns with that low kick. Round 2 finish. I don't know if Burns makes it through the first. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I always look for the round 2 finish when I bet on against Herbert Burns. Like, it has cashed the last 2 fights for me. And honestly, you're right, man. Like, this could be done with the first leg kick that Jenkins throws. Like, for the simple fact that we've seen Herbert Burns is just a big a quitter as there is. At the end of the day, he's an MMA fighter, so he does his thing. But man, this guy just goes through some little bit of adversity and he's done. Like, once things doesn't go his way, he just decides to quit. And honestly, I'm gonna just say, like, I never seen a brother carry out his brother like Gilbert Burns did to him. Like, that was just sad. And honestly, unless he tore his ACL or tore his Achilles and it was just him tired, man, that was just sad to watch. So I've been fading him ever since that, and it's been cashing me. So Jenkins, hopefully for Jenkins not really being the KO guy, hopefully we get a little bit of a good odds for the KO, but I see the KO probably being like minus 200, minus 300. So probably pick KO like rounds 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's a KO waiting to happen. Yeah, that was in the Bill.
It was exhaustion. It was exhaustion. He
literally
actually gave up to exhaustion like a little, and his brother carried him out of the cage, and he pretended like he blew his knee out. That's why he's a fade for me this week as well too. I'm with you guys.
Wow, some harsh words. Yeah, I was gonna say he totally get like Slick likes to say, death gassed against Bill Algeo and gave up exhausted. He can fold. He doesn't respond well to damage. So I think that's an obvious minus 850 now. Yeah, I actually had Jenkins in a parlay super early at minus 550. And I was like, that's juicy. Hey, man, he's going to close at like minus 1200, maybe more. The next leg that Mr. Plus is talking about, it's Carlos Prates. Slick, another fighting nerd. You can't stop these guys. And he talked about the reach and ranginess, length advantage of Prates. He uses those knees, those elbows, those front kicks, those straight punches so well. Li Jingliang, pressure forward wrestler, likes to explode when he closes distance, right? He can be dangerous, but do you think Prates just picks him off with one of those straight shots?
Yeah, honestly, man, like Mr. Plus said, is this just Li Jingliang just has taken too much time away, man. And, I think he had like some type of back surgery that they said that it was real severe, so he had to take a long time off right after that D-Rod situation. And for me, honestly, for me to honestly bet against Carlos Prates right now, you either have to be a full-on grappler or you have to be a full-on wrestler. Because if you don't do any of them things, I'm not betting against this guy. Like, this guy just sets up, like Dominic Cruz called this so perfect. Like, his knees sets up his left hand. You think his knees about to come up and boom, he's going to hit you with that left hand quick. And man, honestly, Li Jingliang, I think he has only been knocked out once, if not none. But man, the guy just hasn't fought somebody with so much momentum right now, like Carlos Prates. And this is just a fight that Leetch could probably catch Carlos Prates. But man, I think Carlos Prates is just gonna give him something way more harder on the return. And I'm gonna give Leetch a little bit of respect. But I think the body shots and everything could lead up to like a third round finish, especially the Leetch hasn't been in there for a long time. I think it has been almost 2 years. So, hey, man, I'm going to keep going with Carlos Prates. And like I said, unless you give me a full-on blown crotch sniffer like Gamrot, even though we're going to talk about him later, other than that, I'm not betting against this guy.
Yo, man, you're going to have to get your hands on Carlos Prates and take away that range if you want to stay safe against him. And that is not so easily done. So I agree with Mr. Plus and with Slick. I think the Leetch takes damage on the way. And Mr. Plus, you betting the knockout there?
Yeah, probably. And anyone who's smoking cigarettes walking into the octagon and smoking cigarettes after your fight, I'm not going against you ever. You're a dog.
He's like one of those gangster guys who can just smoke Marb Reds and fight. Like, they're built different. The fighting nerds are built different right now. Prates is one of their brightest prospects. So put that together and bet him in your parlays. Now, finally, we have a great flyweight bout here. Title contending fight pretty much, right? Like Mr. Plus alluded to, Steve Erceg was in a great fight against Alexandre Pantoja. I mean, it was close, man. A lot of people feel like Erceg won. He cut him open with an elbow. He got a late takedown, and it was a really good fight. They were pretty even on the feet. Of course, Pantoja did what he does and had his grappling control, but Erceg jumped the line 10 spots in the flyweight rankings and proved that he was deserving of that title shot. He made it a damn close fight. Now, Slick, Kai Kara-France, one of the speediest, slickest boxers in the division. He's fought a lot of grapplers. He's been able to do a good job of getting back to his feet, fighting against the grapplers, but he struggles sometimes, stuck in defensive grappling situations. So if this is on the feet, I mean, we know Erceg has shown he's got boxing too. We know about his grappling base too. How do you see it playing out? Who do you like? And do you think there's a stylistic advantage for someone like Erceg who can box and grapple here?
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, I was on Erceg in that fight, so I already know what I thought. He actually won that fight against Pantoja. Me personally, I just look at this fight as a stylistic matchup that honestly favors Kai Kara-France in the fact that me personally, I'm probably not going to be betting the money line, but if I get like minus 140, minus 150 on the plus 3.5, I think Kai Kara-France definitely can win a round against Steve Erceg. We've seen guys like Alessandro Costa give trouble to Steve Erceg, having that good power in their hands. And I just think Kai Kara-France honestly could win a round, maybe knocking down Erceg. Erceg is one of those guys that he's willing to stay in the pocket, willing to land one, to give one. Hey, man, I'm not really up there to the money line, but the plus 3.5 for me, I think Kai Kara-France is going to make this fight way closer. And I think Erceg could definitely, because one thing I know about Erceg is that he's going to bring the elbows. He's going to bring the more eye-opening, damaging cuts. And Kai Kara-France, he's like, if you watch his fights, he doesn't really put that much damage on guys. He wins fights on knockdowns or big moments. So I think he could actually win one round and, hey, man, win my one round and I cash my best. So I like the plus 3.5 for Kai Kara-France this week. So, hey, Steve Erceg 29-28, you cash the Mr. Plus Parlay Bus and you cash my bet. So, hey, we all leave happy.
In an ideal world, that's how it goes down. Yeah, for those not familiar, spread betting available in UFC. You got to rely on the judges, but the plus 3.5, that means if he wins 29-28, 1-1-1 equals 3 on the combined judges' scorecards, you would cover that. So that's how that works. Mr. Plus, do you see this fight going the distance in a close one, or do you think that Erceg will be able to use his grappling control? How do you see it playing out in your mind's eye?
This is 3 rounds or 5 rounds, boys? This is 3? Yeah, this could go the distance. This could go the distance. Although Erceg's real dangerous, so I could see him getting a late finish. We just got to see how it plays out. Kai Kara-France, I mean, aren't both of these guys from Australia?
The Australia battle for Australia right here.
So the crowd's going to be wild for this one. So I think it could go either way. I just think that Steve Erceg's on the way up while Kai Kara-France is kind of on the way out.
And one quick stat, these guys' last 10 fights, 8 of them have went to decision.
So are you thinking that another one goes, or does that mean that?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping for it to go for the plus 3.5 because the only way I'm gonna win the plus 3.5 is if Kai Kara-France gets a finish, and I think Steve Erceg is gonna be definitely tough enough to last there. But like I said, 29-28, Steve Erceg.
Both these guys are tough as hell, and I'm going to lean to the Erceg side because I feel like he regretted not trying to offensively grapple more in the Pantoja fight. Like at the end of the fight in the 5th round, trying to separate yourself, mix it up a little bit, mix up your attack, and he lands a late takedown. And I think he realized to himself, like, damn, maybe I could have done that earlier, and I could have used that in my game plan a little earlier instead of going boxing heavy and looking to defend his grappling. So obviously against a guy like Kai Kara-France, great hand speed, really good technical striking, good twitchy feints as well. You might want to mix in that grappling. And I like Erceg to do that and I think win a decision. They're both tough as hell. I think they'll trade in the boxing. Like Slick said, Erceg is willing to trade in the pocket. I could see him getting cracked, taking a good shot, maybe, ringing it off of the head, Tony Ferguson style against Justin Gaethje and keep moving forward. And this should be an exciting back and forth fight. I like it too. I'm with Mr. Plus. I'm leaning Erceg. Slick leaning the Kai Kara-France side, but maybe a spread bet there, the +3.5. Always an interesting way to play dog. So great breakdown on that co-main event of the night, guys. The battle for Australia, Steve Erceg versus KKF. All right, well, let's move on forward now to the Slick Report.
The Slick Report is monumental. Philly Spines, Cash Angles, essential.
Matchup here between two highly skilled fighters who can mix it up wherever the fight goes. Break this one down for us, Slick. Who do you got on this week's report?
Yeah, we're gonna go with the Australian Josh Culibao in this spot. I really like him in this spot, man. His last 2 fights have honestly just went away from him. He's fought a good guy, Lerone Murphy, who's on the up and up right now. And then, he fought a tough Danny Silva in his last fight, back and forth war that could have went either way. Danny Silva just had more of the bigger moments, bigger punches. But Culibao had close to like almost 100 strikes that fight. And honestly, I just think that he's getting Ramos at the perfect time, man. Ramos was one of those guys that was on the up and up with those spinning elbows. But honestly, watching his last 2 fights, he's just looking for that too much. Honestly, it's like Molly McCann. Like, if she didn't get those spinning elbows now, it's like, what are you doing now? You haven't shown anything. And I think that's what the downfall for Ricardo Ramos. Like, he was trying hard and hard to get that spinning elbow against Julian Erosa. He didn't. So he ends up shooting a takedown. And I just don't even trust his fight IQ. Like, they say he's a Brazilian black belt, jiu-jitsu. And I tell people, like, for me, for you to get subbed twice back-to-back via guillotine, I can't trust you to come out of any adversity, because we have seen time and time again, if the guillotine doesn't put you to sleep, a lot of these people aren't tapping to these guillotines, Like Charles Oliveira had Armand in that deep-ass guillotine. Brian Ortega had Volk in that tight-ass guillotine. I just don't think he's tough enough no more, that he can't get that spinning elbow. I think Josh Culibao has the volume. I think he has the cardio edge. And at the end of the day, it's in Australia. If this fight is 1-1 in that 3rd round, I think I'm going to trust Josh Culibao to come out there with a ball of fire and just try to get that 3rd round. So I'm going to give Ramos the benefit of the doubt. Unless he makes a dumb decision, I think he gets to at least the bell. But I think Culibao, I want to say run through him, but I think he makes it look easy, man. I think he has the movement, and I think he has the grappling edge in this fight, that if Ramos makes some type of mistake, he's going to take advantage of it. We've seen it against Erceg Baldasarian. Erceg Baldasarian threw a kick, he tripped. Next thing you know, he's getting choked out by Josh Culibao in under 10 seconds. So I think Josh Culibao could do that too, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I think Josh Culibao gets probably 30-27, 29-28 easy.
Looking for a dominant win from Kuya, Josh Culibao. He's got some good experience now under him. Yeah, he's fought some tough competition. I think he debuted against Jalen Turner. I mean, that's a tough ask. We'll talk about Jalen Turner more when we bring up the Dan Hooker fight. But yeah, Slick liking a lot of the assets for Josh Culibao against Ricardo Ramos, Mr. Plus, who has creative striking, like Slick said, but he's looking for crazy explosive shots. He's jumping for, grappling submissions and attacks that aren't always there, and then he's getting reversed and put away. What do you think of Ramos' skills here against Culibao?
I think Ramos is not that guy. And if you're tapping out to guillotines twice in a row, you're panicking and running out of gas. That's what's happening when you're tapping out on a guillotine. So I don't like that. I can't back that up. I like Culibao. I like his gas tank. I like how he can fight hard every single round. I thought that Lerone Murphy fight was kind of close, and then the last fight, I was pretty upset when I got robbed with Josh Culibao. So yeah, that's still how I feel about it. I'm backing him up again. He's in Australia. He's home. He's going to have the crowd behind him. He's one of those guys that when he walks out, he gets real amped up. I like to see that out of a fighter. So give me Josh Culibao. I'm taking him for the W, and I might throw him in a parlay or two. We'll see.
Yeah, he's down to -142 or -148 now. He was a bigger favorite, but it looks like money's coming in on the other side. look, the skill set of Ricardo Ramos is definitely there. He's got some slick jiu-jitsu. He's got spinning attacks. He's explosive. But Slick mentioned it. His fight IQ hasn't been there. Mr. Plus doesn't think he's that guy. And they don't like seeing getting guillotined twice in a row. Cal, what do you think of Ricardo Ramos?
I think one guy finds his way to stay in fights, and he's a dog a lot of the time, and he's able to make it work for him. And one guy finds his way out of fights. And I think that when they've both done it multiple times, where Culibao stepped up and came out of nowhere, and Ramos, you can try to bank on his technique and his talent and his finishing ability on the other end when he's the hammer. But he's a horrible nail, and he does panic. When you panic in a guillotine, that's low level. And unfortunately, I think he's going to lose. So I agree, guys.
There you go. It'll be unanimous then. Yeah, I like Culibao's back takes too. He's good with those, gets his hooks in. He's like a spider monkey when he grapples, right? He's just got like a limb everywhere. So I like it. If they scramble up, I like Culibao to win those exchanges. All right, Slick. Nice report there. Let's move on to the Brasco breakdown.
Brasco's breakdown.
And it's time for an underdog, fellas. The favorites I like so far. But give me Dan the Hangman Hooker at plus 260 right now. And I'm going to wait to bet it, folks, because I think that more money might come in on Gamrot, and the line could even come up further. Now, I already think it's far too wide for a dog like Dan Hooker. Go and watch his last fight with Jalen Turner. Holy fight. What a war that was. These guys traded damage. And Hooker really impressed me with his ability to not only stand up to a vicious head kick, but to keep moving forward. Even when he was hurt, he refused to let Turner bully him and take the space away. Hooker is relentless. He will move forward even in the face of damage, and he can throw kicks to all three levels, which I really like here against the wrestler Gamrot. I watched the fight of Mateus Gamrot against Beneil Dariush, his most recent loss. And Dariush, while he's very good grappler, good with his scrambling and defensive ability, he actually used a lot of jiu-jitsu to keep away the wrestling attack of Gamrot. He was able to throw kicks to three levels and piece him up. The low kicks were landing, the body kicks were there. And I see Hooker being able to do the same thing, switching stances, going to the southpaw and throwing the body kicks there. I think that Gamrot's wrestling attack, it's definitely tough to deal with. And he's in your face, relentless, getting body locks. You're fighting the hands. But it's getting to be a fairly boring style. Like, how often do Dana White is taking away bonuses from everyone left and right on these pay-per-views because he's tired of fights going to decision. I mean, Mateus Gamrot is a decisionator. He's not even active with ground and pound really, or, hunting submissions. He wants control and he wants position, and he's going to battle for it over and over again. But I think Hooker makes it nasty. I think he makes it dirty. And I think that Mateus Gamrot will respond way worse to damage and a nasty, grinding fight than Hooker will. So, hey, man, for Gamrot to win as a minus 340 favorite right now, he's got to pitch a perfect game. Take him down, chain wrestle, and do that every round. And we've seen Hooker is not easy to do that against. So look for the knees, look for the kicks to every level, and look for the just toughness and savagery of Dan Hooker to prove that this line is way off at plus 260. Mr. Plus Money, weigh in on this fight. Do you think that Gamrot wrestles him up, or do you think that Hangman Hooker is still here and ready for a win?
Man, this is very similar to as far as the line goes to what we just saw in the main event with the Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov, where I just feel like it's too wide. And don't get me wrong, we lost. We took Corey. We took that L on the chin. I'd bet him again all day, man. I think he can figure it out. Right here, right now, Dan Hooker plus 250, plus 220, plus 260. It's going to jump all in between there, maybe even up more as we get closer to fight day, because people are just going to throw Gamrot into parlays thinking this is easy for him. But like you just said, and I hate that we don't all want to be on the same side every fight, right, boys? But the reality is, if Gamrot can't hold him down for 3 rounds, you best believe those hands are going to fly. Dan Hooker is a dog. He knows how to stand up. And I just saw a viral video of him throwing a beer at someone in a public game. I thought that was the most gangster shit ever. I gotta lean the Hooker side. I love his last name. There's so much I like about this guy. I'm going with Dan the Man. Keep it PG here, Mr. Plus. Dan the Man plus money. Man, I feel like there's another one where the pick might have to be Gamrot, but the bet's always going to be on the Hooker side.
Understood there. Yeah, we saw a professional fighter in Dan Hooker at a rugby game chucking a beer at some dude. That's how you win Mr. Plus over as a pro fighter. He's a fan for life now. Slick, I mean, look at the resume of Gamrot, right? Yes, he's an impressive wrestler, but I don't know, feels a little shaky to me. Like, he has the win over Arman Sarukian that we all know isn't a win. He should have lost that one 48-47, but he fought him close, so that's impressive nonetheless. The split win over Jalen Turner, you could argue that Turner won that fight. And the win against RDA in his last fight, RDA clipped him right away in the first round, and then he wrestled him up for the next 3. Do you think that attack, that pressure, is going to be in Hooker's face for all 3 rounds and will be too much to deal with? Or do you think that Gamrot is beatable?
This is another spread bet for me right here. I'm going to take Dan Hooker plus 3.5 in this spot. I really think that he could make this fight, like you said, dirty. And honestly, I'm going to get like a sign behind me. I hate crotch sniffers, man. I hate people that don't do stuff on the ground. I'm okay with you wrestling. I'm okay with you dominating. I'm more okay than Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad was looking for a rear naked choke, was looking for stuff. Gamrot doesn't do none of that. He just tries to hump your leg like little Chihuahua would do when you go to your grandma's house. I'm done. I'm done, bro. Like, they robbed him in that Jalen Turner fight. Jalen Turner clearly won that fight. If that fight was nowadays with damage over control, Jalen Turner clearly won that fight. And he's just been able to take advantage of guys with no takedown defense. RDA, who we notably know that we gets out wrestled all the time, out grappled all the time by good grapplers. Like, I'm just not ready to just go in there and put him as a minus 350 favorite, knowing he has to, like you said, fight a perfect fight. Because the one thing that we know about Gamrot is that he does not have good control on the ground. He runs a lot of takedowns, 8-10 takedowns. That's because he doesn't hold people down. So and then the one thing I hate about him too is that he doesn't take advantage of people's gas tanks, knowing he has the better gas tank. Like, you think in the 3rd round that he would try to go for a finish, try to go for something. Nah, he's just ready to hump your leg 3 more times. And I'm done, man. I'm done. I faded Carl Williams last week because of it, and I'm fading Mateus Gamrot this week because of it. So Dan Hooker plus 3.5, and I might be sprinkling Dan Hooker money line.
I love that. Another plus 3.5 spread bet from Slick. You probably get plus money on that. It's plus 260 on the money line now. You're definitely get plus money in the spread too. Shout out to last week. We all liked Jonada Diniz, and he pieced up Carl Williams in an impressive win. Damn the Hangman Hooker, man. Cal, weigh in on this one.
Yeah, I think I'm a little gun shy. 2 weeks ago we got Sandhagen. Last week we got Damon Jackson. I need to jump off, my bias as much as I lean into it. And, I love Dan Hooker, but I think the way I want to approach this one is actually live. So I think the line's wide enough that even if Gamrot gets some takedowns in that first round and the line sort of moves whatever way they want to move it, I'm still going to have room going into that second round. And I think after Dan Hooker gets up that 3rd time, those shots are going to be a little bit less. Those takedowns are going to be a little bit less, and Hooker's going to start to land. And that's where the value will be right there for me. I'll feel more secure in my plus money, maybe plus 160 Dan Hooker live or something. Whatever the hell it's going to be, I'm good with it.
I really like that, and I agree. I see it the same way as you, the same way that Slick sees it, is that, yeah, Gamrot will land his takedowns, but he won't keep him down. And Hooker doesn't have that quitting. I don't think he can drown a guy like Dan Hooker with his pressure and wrestling attack like that. I think Hooker will match that toughness, match the ferocity, and if it gets nasty, it's Dan Hooker all day. All right, guys, good talk on that one. Really good fight. I'm excited for that one. Hopefully a dog barks for us there. We take some long shots, and hey, man, if you hit 1 plus 260 every 3 fights, you're right there at close to even, right? So let's get this one this week. Guys, it's time for the main event of the evening. And we've got ourselves the battle for Africa. Israel, the last style bender, Adesanya, taking on Dricus, still Knox, Duplessis. What a battle we have here, guys. I mean, a lot of debate around this fight. A lot of narratives, too, right? I mean, Dricus has been surging up the division. He's sneaky with his power. He surprises Robert Whittaker. He puts Derek Brunson on the ground, beats the crap out of him. He takes the win over Sean Strickland, an absolute war, close, controversial fight. And he's mixing the boxing, the wrestling, and the full MMA skill set together. He's a tough guy to deal with, right? Versus Izzy Adesanya, one of the best kickboxers the game has ever seen, but is coming off a loss to Sean Strickland, which he was damaged badly in the first round. Everyone thought he was going to walk through Strickland, who he was like a minus 600 favorite, and it was the opposite way around. He was playing defensively and, resigned to pretty much lose a decision after he got hurt early. And now we're wondering, what version of Izzy do we get, right? So big narrative flip here all of a sudden, and I'm curious to see where the fellas are leaning. So let me start with Mr. Plus, man. The battle for Africa happening in Australia, funny enough. Who do you
Wow.
think takes it?
Well, this is going to be a great fight. And both of the fights versus Sean Strickland were pretty good. Izzy was getting cracked and beat up. I don't think he liked that pressure. But Duplessis was losing too in a lot of that fight. And some could say that Strickland was winning that fight and won that fight. But it was a decision, and Duplessis got his hand raised, and you kind of expected it at the end. And the belt's just been changing hands, and nobody's been able to defend the title at middleweight. And man, I think the style bender king of the belt is back. You know who was defending his title before he gave it away? Izzy, a bunch of times. I like Izzy again. I think this is where the UFC math never makes sense, right? One lost to Strickland, one beat Strickland, and then this is where you lose. I just like the rangy boxing out of Izzy, the kickboxing, the leg kicks. I think that Izzy's going to be, I know he's always a little defensive. He's got to come forward. He's bulked up for this fight. I think he could even be potentially the stronger guy who gets out of those takedowns if he gets taken down and pops right back up on his feet. That's where he wants to keep it. And he's tricky, man. We've seen Izzy win before by knockout. We've seen him put away Alex Pereira. We've seen him put away Whitaker a few times. Well, I mean, knockout, but beat him a few times. I got to go with Izzy, man. And, you know, who's going to have the crowd? Izzy, right? He's like Volk's boy. He like kind of reps both Nigeria and Australia. I like Izzy in this spot with Perth behind him. I think everybody's ready for him to take his belt back. Give me Izzy for the first leg of the D'arce Parlay.
And he's going to make it a D'arce leg. Wow, in the main event. New Zealand for Izzy, not Australia. New Zealand, quick correction. But nonetheless, you'll be on that side of the world, right? That's the hometown edge. Wow, so he's going with Izzy to take the belt back, Slick. I mean, if you want to critique Izzy through the wins in his middleweight title defenses, it's been that he's been defensive, right? And that he fights a ticky-tack, low kick, jab, you know, stay on that shoulder roll style, lean back defense, and avoid enough damage to slightly outpoint you to a technical decision, right? It's going to be tough to fight Dricus like that. I mean, he's coming forward. He's bringing pressure. He's going to mix in wrestling and boxing. And Izzy's going to have to get some respect, right? So what version of Israel Adesanya do you expect to see here? And how do you think Dricus looks to attack him?
And quick correction, Izzy isn't Nigerian or New Zealand. He's Chinese. Remember, he reps China all day.
Izzy had a bit of an identity crisis for a little while, but go ahead, Slick.
But yeah, man, honestly, the one thing I really like about Izzy in this spot is watching Dricus Duplessis. He's gonna give Izzy Adesanya so many chances to put him to sleep. Like, it's not even funny. Like, I was watching this guy against everybody that he has fought in the UFC. Everybody has cracked him. Everybody has smoked, like, has had him wobbled. And the guy just been able to come back a lot of times, you know, like Robert Whitaker was landing some clean ass shots in the first round. Like Brad Tavares was hitting some good shots on the feet. Like, people had their moments with him. And the one thing that I've seen about a lot of the people that he fought, he just hasn't fought guys with the movement like Adesanya. Like, all those guys, Strickland, Tavares, all those, the Whitaker, even Whitaker. Whitaker has good movement, but his movement is more back and forth with his little karate stance. You know, and that's how he tends to use his movement. Izzy, what I like about Izzy is that he just doesn't settle against the cage. The one thing I like about him is that he likes to just put you, like, do that little push away and push you towards the cage. He just doesn't settle for me. And me personally, I think he plays the Paulo Costa game plan. Just stays away from those big moments, stays away from those big pressure punches, and just kill the calf kicks. That's one thing that Dricus has never had to go through his entire UFC career, was those calf kicks. Nobody has tried to implement that game plan against him. And Izzy's going to do it, man. We've seen him plenty of times hit people. Strickland had the perfect thing to really stop that from Adesanya, because that's what usually Adesanya uses to set up everything. Like, we've seen it against Paulo Costa, the way he battered those leg kicks. We've seen it against Whitaker, the way he countered him with that that 1-2. So I think it's a good spot for Izzy, man. I'm going to take Izzy on the money line. I think one thing that we know about Izzy too, I mean, Dricus, is if he doesn't get the wrestling going, it might not set up his whole game plan, you know, because sometimes against Tavares, he went 0-7 from takedowns. So if he has trouble struggling with the takedowns, and even against Strickland, he got 6 takedowns, but only 2 minutes of control time. And that's one thing I dislike about him is that he doesn't try to hold you down there. He just lets you get up and he tries to get you with some punches going up the cage. But I just don't think Izzy has seen that time and time again. And people haven't been able to hold Izzy down. Only people that was able to hold Izzy down was John Blachowicz, up a weight class, and John Blachowicz didn't even want to strike with Izzy. That just goes to show you a 205er. Izzy came into that fight like 190 something. So I think Izzy gets this fight back. And me personally, I'd rather bet on Izzy right now. More hungrier Izzy. Just like Kamaru Usman. When Kamaru Usman lost that belt, we seen the most perfect Kamaru Usman we had seen in that fight against Hamza Chimaev. We seen it in that second and third round. So, hey man, give me Izzy money line. And if Dricus is this person that everybody tends him to be, because honestly, I see nobody on Izzy. I see every MMA person, everything that I have seen, everybody and their mom is on Dricus. So, and the line has been moving, guys. We might be able to get Izzy plus money. Right now, DraftKings got Dricus at -102 and Izzy at -110. So, hey man, give me Israel Adesanya.
Wow, the line is on the move. Yeah, I saw -130 when we started the podcast. So obviously money's coming in now as we speak. And I love it, fellas. I'm with you. I'm on Israel Adesanya as well here because I agree with a lot of points they made. I think the false narrative is going to, like MMA math, like Mr. Plus mentioned, right, where you see it kind of flip itself and nothing seems to make sense. Well, he beat him, but he beat him. So wouldn't he be? It doesn't work like that. Styles make fights, but also fighters are always in different moments in their career. And I think Israel Adesanya was way just overtraining, overfighting for the last, 18 months before the Strickland fight. I mean, that was the 5th title fight in a year and a half. Not only are you preparing, are you going through those fights, you're in title fight training camps. I mean, those could be 6 weeks long too. So, this guy must have 0 time off in the last year and a half. He finally takes a year off, recover your brain, recover your body, go look to implement something new in your game, not just train for the next fight, right? And maybe he brings a new skill set to his game in this time off. And I think sometimes time off for active fighters, Israel Adesanya, one of the most active champions of all time, probably was the best thing for him. So I really like the time off. And I don't think that Strickland's pressure and Dricus's pressure are created equally. Strickland also, like we're talking about pitch a perfect game, he was perfect that night. I mean, his feinting has never been better. We know the Philly shell feinting defense of Strickland, but he was perfect that night, and he hurt Izzy early. I mean, Izzy was fighting concussed after the first round. That's why he was pretty defensive, right? Because I don't think his brain allowed him to go back into the damage. And when you're fighting in 5 title fights in a year and a half, you're going to end up fighting defensively. It's about self-preservation. So I think time off is huge here. And Dricus is so hittable. He moves down center line. I just want Izzy to fire straight punches. Like you see, he loves to loop off and throw that check hook, right? That Adesanya check hook with breaking posture. I hate when he does that. But if he can throw straight crosses down the line, I mean, Strickland, although that he was bleeding in the one that got cracked, and I think maybe aesthetics played into Dricus winning that fight, Strickland jabbed Dricus's face off. I mean, Dricus at the press conference completely swollen shut in his eyes. So I think Izzy could chew his face up with jabs and straight right hands. Slick likes him to chew up the legs. I mean, Mr. Plus likes it too. Dude, Israel Adesanya, the MMA math is going to math in our favor, I think. And with the whole world against him, he's still the favorite. I think he's going to be the sneaky favorite. Hopefully he can close as the dog. But Cal, make it unanimous for the pod, or are you going to be the dissenting opinion? What do you think about the main event?
I think Izzy already had a chip on his shoulder after losing to Strickland and had a puzzle to figure out. And for a strategist to take time off at that high level, he's one of the best strikers ever in the history of the world. He took time off to try to figure out what happened that night, even though I agree he was fully burnt out. Then you throw someone like Dricus du Plessis, whose striking is awkward and he's gotten away with it because no one has been able to really figure it out. Whitaker didn't take him seriously. Strickland did, but I think Strickland won that fight. And on top of that, I think now if you have that strategist looking at Dricus and figuring out exactly how he's going to piece him up, I just think it's going to be all day. I think Izzy's going to find that chin real easily. I think he's going to be able, he maybe get taken down once or twice, or partly on the cage or whatever, and then get back up. I think Izzy's going to have his way with him. And I think he's going to be, I don't think he's going to be aggressive, but he is going to be the way you are, pendulating him out like on angles, matadoring, but then he's going to be aggressive and taking advantage of moments and not letting du Plessis off the hook.
I love that. And Izzy does really well against forward-moving fighters, against the Bull and the Matador, right? He plays that really well. Slick alluded to the Paulo Costa fight. So if we can see something like that, I mean, Izzy will be just controlling him and picking his shots when he sees fit. I really hope it goes like that. And we were rooting for Israel Adesanya as a podcast here at the D'arce to take the belt back. That would make it a really interesting story at middleweight. No, we're not going to see Alex Pereira drop back down to middleweight to challenge again. No, he wishes Izzy well. He's going to be rooting for him. He said no matter how Izzy feels about him and his fights. And hopefully we can get that storybook, I think, and add to Izzy's greatness and his legacy, cementing him as one of the GOATs, losing the belt multiple times and taking it back. Like, that'd be a really cool chapter in his story. All right, guys, great main event talk there. It's time for the Dogs of the Week. And we got plenty more fights to talk about. I already brought up Dan the Hangman Hooker. We had a great discussion on that fight versus Gamrot. That's going to be my Dog of the Week. I want to let Mr. Plus take his Dog of the Week in a heavyweight banger that we have to discuss. You're back in the hometown fighter. Who do you like?
Damn it, I got my flip-flops on, but it sure is shoey time, boys. I'm taking Tai Tuivasa on his home court in front of his home crowd, his people, his boys. The gangsters are going to be in town. Maybe even Steve will do it and his homies are going to fly out, and they'll all do shoeys on the top of the octagon. Man, that's what I want to see. Jairzinho Rozenstruik is not a joke. He's got power. He's got good stand-up. He's got that dog in him, too. We saw his last fight against Shamil. He whooped Shamil's ass. There's just levels as far as that goes. But I think Tai Tuivasa gets back in the win column here. 4 straight L's against, besides Marcin Tybura, who didn't look great the other day, 3 against, top-tier heavyweights that we got going. So, I mean, I think this is a good spot for Tai, who always looks a little bit overweight and out of shape. Don't get me wrong. That dude's got some gas in the tank, and he's not scared to go and stand toe-to-toe with anybody. And I think that's what they're going to want to do here. And I think Tai just has the more power in his hands, and you're going to see him clip Jairzinho Rozenstruik and land that knockout. Give me round 2, Tai Tuivasa by knockout.
Bam Bam to do a shoey with a round 2 knockout. If he takes a stranger's shoe, a strange man's foot, and puts a beer in, I mean, this guy doesn't care about anything. And he fights like a savage, too. Yeah, you're right. He brings the beer belly physique slick, but he's got cracking power. And Tuivasa's got some technical skill for sure. Losses to beasts. Cyril Gane knocked him out. Sergey Pavlovich knocked him out. Alexander Volkov. Ezekiel choked him after beating him up. And then Marcin Tybura choked him. But we know Tai Tuivasa is a 0 on the ground. Hey, they matched him up with a kickboxer. Look, here we go. We got a striking affair for him. So you giving him a fighting chance against Jairzinho?
Oh man, this is the fight that I'm gonna go with Bam Bam Tuivasa, man. Let's go. We're gonna go with Tuivasa. I'm a little worrisome, man. Obviously, Rozenstruik has been looking good as of late. But man, what we've seen from him, his only 2 KO losses have come to guys that pressure him. And that's one thing that Tai Tuivasa is going to be able to do. He's going to be able to pressure him. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, the one thing I hate about him in this spot is that if he doesn't clip Tai Tuivasa and hurt him early, because that's one thing that Tai Tuivasa is going to do. He's going to put the pressure on him. And the one thing that Rozenstruik tends to do is that he tends to just lean back and just tries to get that little cheeky check hook that he tries to do. So that's a little worrisome with me, because if Tai Tuivasa just tries to go in there with his eyes closed, he could get caught. But other than that, I think honestly, man, I think he can make the fight dirty. I like that Rozenstruik doesn't really put out that much volume to really make me worry about him in like a back and forth brawl type shit. So, and if the fight is a little stagnant, I can see Tai Tuivasa murder his fucking lead leg. You know, Tai Tuivasa has those mean ass calf kicks, crippled people before. So I think it's a good spot for Tai Tuivasa. But I'm gonna play this fight, Tai Tuivasa, a little sprinkle on his money line. But the fight to end by KO, I gotta play that bet. Probably gonna be a parlay piece. Probably be like minus 300. But hey, you get both sides. You get any moment. Neither of these guys are gonna try submissions. If it does, I just don't know, because Volkov doing Ezekiel chokes and stuff. So I don't know. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna take Bam Bam Tuivasa. I'm a little worrisome, but hey, man, this is the perfect matchup for him to try to get back on track. Give me Tai Tuivasa.
Well, he's going Bam Bam. So is Mr. Plus. I know he's faced tough strikers, so I'm not going to hold losses to Pavlovich and those guys against him. That's tough sledding. But I mean, he's dealt with injuries and damage, man. And I agree with you. I mean, Jairzinho has lost to guys that get in his face and clip him with a shot. I'm going to forgive him for losing to Francis Ngannou, who grazed him with a knuckle, it seemed like, and put him clean out. That was insane. That's Francis Ngannou power for you right there. And then who else did Jairzinho lose to? he got pressured. And Volkov beat him up too. So yeah. So I mean, I also don't want to overrate how good he looked against Shamil Gaziev, because Gaziev was a walking punching bag. I mean, credit to Jairzinho for doing what he did. His jab looked really good. He was very technical. His movement was solid, clocking off to the side. So I think he can do a lot of the same things against Tai. I'm on him for that reason. I haven't bet him. I'm going to pick him for that reason. I think he's going to just piece, use that jab. But like you said, I mean, Tai can move forward and make it crazy. And those calf kicks and that, explosive power, it could touch the chin. So you never know. He's got a chance. He'll be at home in Australia. 4-fight losing streak. If it's going to end, it's got to end now, or else he's only 31, but you got to feel like, how much time does he have left to fight, Slick? Like,
actually, me personally, if he loses this fight by like KO, like bad, I think it's time to hang him up, man. Do one last shoey in Australia, your hometown, and just hang him up, Bam Bam, because these last 4 fights, he has just taken so much damage. Like even Ty Bora was pounding his face in before he even got that choke. So, man, if Tai Tuivasa, if you lose, bro, do one last shoey, put the gloves down, get the mic. The crowd is gonna go crazy. So, hey, man, hopefully, but I just think this is, a tough fight. But I'm gonna put
I would argue that the shoey is the problem, Slick. I would argue that maybe the shoey is the problem. Actually, it definitely is. The man does drink a lot. You see him staying in Abu Dhabi after fights and goes on benders, and that can't do well for camps, can't do well for your head. Doesn't help you when you're a heavyweight getting hit by hammers.
Y'all remember when he was going back to the locker room and he did a shoey and a bowl put hot sauce in it?
Yo, so foul the stuff that's going on. He was like, oh, who did that? Was a nasty issue, but he took that shit like a champion, and he doesn't care. He's a savage. So maybe the shoey is a weakness. Maybe it's a superpower. Maybe it's what makes him go forward and go through the fire in those moments. We shall see. Yeah, man, if he loses this one, you got to give him like Austin Lane. Like, just give him a win, man, please. All right, man. Well, Mr. Plus is going to be back soon, but we're going to start kicking off the D'arce podcast parlay. And I know that our dog pick last week in replacement of our parlay didn't come through, but that doesn't mean that we're not still going for 4 straight D'arce podcast parlays. And let's cash another one, Slick. I'm going to let you kick it off. Who's the first leg?
Yeah, we already talked about this guy earlier, man. I'm going with Carlos Prates. I just think he lands the more damaging shots. Li Jingliang, I don't think his timing is going to be there. I just don't think he's that too offensive of a fighter to really crack Carlos Prates. And Carlos Prates, like I said, if you're not a full-blown wrestler, if you're not a full-blown grappler, I'm just not betting against him. So give me Carlos Prates, money line.
Yeah, man. If you I think Li Jingliang might get stuck at range and try to figure out his way in, try to crash. It doesn't quite work. Maybe eats a straight punch and was like, okay, that's scary. And then he kind of gets stuck trying to figure it out. And by the time he takes a chance, he's going to get cracked with something bad, not having figured it out, right? How to take that chance. So I totally agree with you. We love Carlos Prates here. I don't think that Li Jingliang is the guy that stops the hype train on him. I'm going to go with Song Kenan, guys, a fight that we haven't talked about yet. And I really like this guy, man. I mean, Song Kenan going to be moving down to lightweight for this fight. He's been fighting at welterweight. It might be a more appropriate weight class for him. So I like the look of it here. And he looked the best that he ever has against Rolando Bedoya, pretty hard-nosed Peruvian boxer, kid that's got some skill and some fire to him in his fights. Tough matchup for anybody. Song Kenan thoroughly beat him, man. His boxing looked really good, looked more technical than ever. His footwork looked better than ever. And after, taking a tough loss against Ian Gary, a fight that he'll be known for dropping Ian Gary in briefly, and some tough strength of schedule. Max Griffin fight before that, pretty good veteran boxer there. He's getting a lot more winnable matchups now, and I think that he can put some wins together after his win against Bedoya. Now he gets a guy in Ricky Glenn that, is got power in his hands as well, veteran boxer himself with a lot of fights logged, but it feels like he's fading away, man. He took one left hook from Christos Yagos, a wrestler, and completely dropped. He took bad damage against Drew Dober in his last fight, and I feel like the chin isn't there anymore. So I think he's likely to take damage and get knocked out against a more technical striker. Give me Song Kenan for our leg of the D'arce. Mr. Plus, welcome back, sir. Do you like Song Kenan in this fight?
Back like we never left. Ricky Glenn took that super long layoff after the Grant Dawson fight, then came back and took the L, then got another L. You want me to back a guy that's taking L's and not fighting very actively? 10 months off. I'm not saying that's horrible. Only a year and 3 months after that, but before that, a year and a half between fights. Now he's back. I just can't buy into Ricky Glenn. Don't get me wrong. Guy's not bad. A scrappy veteran. But Song Kenan, I just think Kenan is the side that we need to be on. And these guys are both like mid-30s, but Song Kenan looks like a machine compared to, Ricky Glenn with the straight dad bod.
It does feel. Looking at their age, I was gonna say, it feels like Glenn's fading. He's 35. Then you're right. I went and looked at Kenan's record. I'm like, oh, he's 34 years old. It's not like he's got a crazy youth advantage. And he did lose to Kevin Jousset in his last fight, but Jousset's pretty good prospect, Slick. Can't hold that one too much against him. Do you think Song Kenan has a good stylistic advantage here to beat a guy like Ricky Glenn?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like you said, that Giago's loss was just bad, man. And then even the Drew Dober loss, Drew Dober was cracking him, just ground and pounding him. The ref finally stopped it. The ref could have stopped it probably within the first minute. And I just think Song Kenan, he's getting it. The one thing that he's starting to look at now, his problem was his chin. People were cracking with big shots, and then that's where shit goes down for him. But now he's starting to look like he's more defensively sound. Even in that Kevin Jousset fight, Kevin Jousset was way better, way younger, So I just think he's getting Ricky Glenn at the perfect time to at least bounce back with 2 straight wins. So yeah, man, give me Song. I like Song Kenan for your leg.
Yeah, and especially going down to a new weight class, it's like, welcome to the weight class. I figured out where I want to fight now. Let me get a W. Let me move on forward. I think he's the right side. Mr. Plus likes it too. Slick gave out Carlos Prates for his leg of the D'arce, Mr. Plus, which we know we all like. I mean, he's in your Parlay Bus. And you got one more leg for us. How are we closing it? Oh, you gave it already, actually.
Yeah, we're going right back to that main event. You guys know I'm taking Izzy, and I'll be honest. I hope, Slick, that he closes as a dog, and I'm still throwing him in the play. I really like him this week. Again, we think he's taking his belt back, and we'd like to all see that happen. So give me the style bender.
Style bender as the last leg means that if it does come down to the main event, maybe there's a hedge opportunity if Dricus is the dog. We'll see how it is. The D'arce Parlay, by the way, Song Kenan, Carlos Prates, Israel Adesanya, plus 248. So you could have a hedge opportunity to make money no matter what if you're on the last leg. That's a way to think about it for sure. And that's a spicy parlay, Mr. Plus. I said Damon Jackson didn't come through, but that's okay. That was a straight play. We're going for our 4th straight still. I'm counting the record that's still on its streak, and we shall not be stopped. Let's go to the fights that we haven't talked about yet in the honorable mentions. And there's a few more, a couple interesting ones. We have Tom Nolan as a massive minus 1,200 favorite against Alex Reyes plus 750. Tom Nolan came in with a ton of hype after his Contender Series win, but he did not live up to it. Now he has a massive price tag attached to him. Again, Slick, is he worth a bet in any sort at this huge tag?
I'm not ever betting this guy ever again, man. This guy is probably the worst minus 500 and more favorites that I ever seen. This guy will make you sweat from the moment he gets knocked down to the moment he knocks somebody out. That Nicholas Mota fight was bad enough as it is. He fought Victor just put this to thing. Victor Martinez got knocked out in the first round in the first 2 minutes by Jordan Levitt, a grappler. And this guy actually knocked down Tom Nolan. Knocked him down. Then Tom Nolan got back up and he got the knockout. At the end of the day, one of my max plays was against Alex Reyes' last fight with Charlie Campbell. I already know what this guy, the guy hasn't fought in 5+ years. If I get any type of good price on Tom Nolan by finish, but more than likely, it's probably going to be minus 500, minus 600. If I get his KO minus 200, I'll include in the parlay. But minus 1,300, I will never put that in the parlay. Never.
It's outrageous. His chin is a concern, man. Nicholas Mota knocked him out in his debut. Then a guy like Victor Martinez, who is the lowest of the low, I think, in terms of UFC caliber guys are going to be able to get matched up against. He got dropped too. I mean, Mr. Plus. What the hell? I know that he's got Alex Reyes barely ever fights. He made his debut against Mike Perry and got finished, then didn't fight for 5 years. And then, I'm sure we all cashed Charlie Campbell by knockout, pieced him up. Plus 750, though, against his chin. I'd sooner bet on Reyes. What do you think?
I mean, if Reyes wasn't pushing 38 years old, I might take a dog shot at him, to be honest. But you just can't count on this guy. Like you guys said, 6 years and change for that fight against Mike Perry. And then 10 months ago, he got knocked out bad by Charlie Campbell. So I can't lean his way. But the wine, I'm going to whine because the line is way too wide. This is just crazy. Minus 1,000. Like Slick said, against Nicholas Motan, I think we were all on him. Man, you just knew it was happening right in front of our eyes. Like, it was bad news. Tom Nolan was not winning that fight. It just goes to show you how good these UFC guys actually are. However, the thing that is making me feel weird, and this is the only bet that I would take. Maybe I'll go on one of those crazy. Maybe Wager Attack will have it, Danny. I'll have to start asking him about that. The exact method. Nolan's what, 6'3", 6'4" pushing, and the other guy's 5'11", Reyes, and they got the same arm length reach. I mean, so where is Nolan bigger? In his legs? I would go flying knee for the victory here. I think he lands a flying knee. I think there's a flying knee knockout. But I hate this line. I hate this fight, and it'll be my version of Slick's Henny break for sure.
No way he deserves to be this wide of a favorite, but you're calling the exact shot by flying knee knockout. I could totally see a knee hurting Reyes here. Yeah. And Reyes is it's not good when he gets hit hard. He takes damage badly because he's not in fights that often. It makes sense, right? If you're not that active, you're likely to take a shot poorly. I want to back him at plus 750, but ain't no way I'm betting either of these guys in this fight. No, I also don't think, I know no one's dangerous. He's rangy striker. I don't think he's that good. To be honest, like in general, besides the chin. Okay. Junior Tafa. Speaking of fights I don't want to bet on. Junior Tafa minus 125 versus Walter Walker. Walter Walker. I always like saying that name. Brazilian, though, not German. He's the brother of Johnny Walker, and he's a plus 110 dog. Slick, you were going to have a take on this fight. You switched it up. You ended up talking about Culibao, but I got to hear from you because I don't want to touch this fight with a 10-foot pole. You have a side?
Yeah, man, I'm going to just go with Junior Tafa in this spot. I just think this is a good, I would say, matchup that favors him in the sense that I believe he could get back up from the takedowns from Walter Walker. And if this fight is on the feet, like, honestly, Walter Walker made Lucas Brzeski look like a glorified kickboxer on the feet. Like, he was getting caught left and right. I think personally he won that fight because of the first 2 rounds. There was times that he just got the takedowns and just laid, like literally just laid on top of Brzeski, no ground and pound. Like, he would throw the King Kong hammer fist for like 2 seconds, and then he would just lay there like. So I'm not betting on him. Junior Tafa, for me, what I can at least take some good things from that Usman fight. He was getting back up from the takedowns. You know, he was catching Usman with good shots, even against what's his name? In the Rogerio de Lima fight, I'm not putting too much stock into it because he took that fight on like 23 hours notice. So I just think he could honestly keep this fight more on the feet in the sense that if this fight at any moment is on the feet, Junior Tafa is liable to knock him out. So I'm gonna take Junior Tafa, man. Give me Junior Tafa money line.
And on the opposite end, if at any moment it's on the ground, Tafa's liable to spend the whole round there. But like you said, Walker's not all that active with his grappling, right? And he gassed out against Brzeski in his last fight, Mr. Plus. Like, I can't trust that guy at all after a performance like that.
If I could bet that there was going to be a moment that the ref would stop this and make them stand back up, this would be the fight. Because Walter Walker is just so inactive on the ground. He's laying prey all day, and he's honestly really boring. You think that he's Johnny Walker's brother, but you're like, wow, this guy is like super boring. And he's actually his younger brother. These are the 2 younger brothers of the brothers. And I'll be honest, they both have pretty horrible fight IQ. Like, they don't know what to do and when to do it. I'll give it to Tafa, though. If they keep this on the feet, man, he can be electric at times. He's got superpower in his hands, and his body kicks and leg kicks are fucking crazy. So I like Tafa. I like his kickboxing, the method and the way he fights. But this one's a pick 'em for a reason. It's either going to be Tafa not being able to get up and the ref not making them stand up soon enough. Or maybe Walter Walker's been really working on his ground and pound, because that's probably what he can do here. He can take him down. He can hit him. I mean, it's crazy to even say this, but Walker's got like an 11-inch or 9-inch reach advantage. It's crazy. And he's not even going to use it. There's no shot that this guy even wants to stand up. He's like the biggest soft guy I've seen thus far. And like you just said, he made Lucas Brzeski look like a savage on the feet. Fuck that, bro. Tafa actually could be a savage and is a savage on the feet. He just hasn't gotten the right opponent to let him really show. Besides that one dub he's got, to show us that again. So I like to see it this fight. Man, I hope he can defend those takedowns, or this is going to be really boring. But let me see Tafa get electric in the hands.
I'll lean Tafa as well, because he does have a huge advantage in the striking. Like, he could put him out, right? He's got the power. He's got the cleaner striking. Yeah, just like, he falls over, man. His takedown defense isn't great. But I love that. I wish you could bet that. Ref to stand them up. You can bet things like split decision or point deduction, right? Or exact method of victory. What about ref to stand them up? I love, like, if you could bet that. That'd be great.
This fight reminds me so much of Carl Williams last week. It scares the hell out of me. Carl Williams feinted a jab for 2 rounds. So the wrestling on this is already boring, and if it doesn't even come to happen, yeah, man, I'm staying away from this one.
He said Carl Williams feinted a jab for 2 rounds, so yeah.
That feinted a jab is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was a boring fight. But Denise did his thing. I could see this playing out similarly. Yeah, the more technical striker, staying measured, avoiding the grappling, and outlanding. So I like that. Okay, you've convinced me, Slick. I'll take Tafa. And then one more fight to discuss on this card, guys. I believe it's the curtain jerker. First one of the night. We got Jesus Aguilar taking on Stuart Nicholl, debuting fighter, 8-0, wrestler, grinding kind of grappler guy, coming in from Eternal, I believe, the Australian promotion. And he's taking on explosive power puncher who's got grappling skill of his own. And Aguilar, lethal squeeze on his guillotine choke. Got a split decision win in his last fight on Mexican Independence Night. Mr. Plus, he's a plus 185 dog against the debuting Australian fighter. You think it's worth a shot?
Yeah, I like the dog to open up the night, boys. I'm gonna be honest. Like, you're gonna make this dude a favorite just because he's from Australia. He's got the nickname Stewie, and everybody kind of likes him. Bro, this record is padded. The best fighter that he fought was his last fight. Granted, he beat him. The guy was 5-0. That guy's 5-0 record was even more padded than this 8-0 record. He fought 5 guys that were all 0-0. Probably, I don't even know how they call him pro. Maybe it was all amateur fights. I'm not even sure. But I'll be honest. I saw the guy Stewie's fight. There's really not much to watch. He looked good. He looked like a bully in there, but I don't think he's going to be able to bully Jesus, man. Aguilar's no joke. He is a dog. He's going to give you everything he's got. Like you just said, man, I could see a world where Stewie slips up, it gets rocked a little bit because of the power punches, and tries to take him down, and Aguilar slaps on that guillotine, which is super strong for that division. Man, he looks strong. He looks good. I got to lean Jesus Aguilar in the plus money on this one. I'm not sold on this Stewie kid. Leave him out of your parlays, boys.
Very interesting. Yeah, I had to research him because I wasn't too familiar with the guy, and I was surprised to see him as a favorite. 8-0 debuting against the guy who's already got a couple UFC wins. Slick, what do you think about the line? What do you think about the fight?
Yeah, I'm actually on like I said, man. I'm so worried because I'm on so many dogs. It's not even funny. I'm on Aguilar too in this spot. I really think that he the one thing that I like about him in this spot, that he's not gonna be deterred from the crowd. He's one of those types of dogs that no matter if he fights in the apex, if he fights in front of his mom, he's going to fight how he wants to fight the whole fight. And we seen it in the Mendoza fight, man. Mendoza was actually trying to come out there with a wrestling-heavy game plan. And Jesus Aguilar, like, he didn't want nothing on the feet with Jesus Aguilar, man. I think this is a good spot for him to just give, too early, too soon type of guy. Because, like Mr. Plus said, I watched this guy's fights, and there were just fights that he didn't had to go through no adversity. He had plenty of success. And this is just a fight that Jesus Aguilar is not going to get you today. Like, he actually had Tattoo Tyra in a little bad predicament, and then Tattoo Tyra ended up getting that triangle armbar on him. So I think this is a good spot for Aguilar, man. I'm going to be throwing probably a half a unit on him. And this is just more of a proven spot for me for Stuart Nicholl because I'm just not impressed.
He almost said Stuart Little. Mr. Plus?
No,
I did.
Tatsuya Taira, that's right, was his only recent loss. And I mean, that's looking really good on paper nowadays. And, the last thing I'll say is I don't think the Stewie kid isn't going to make it. I'm not saying that. I think he'll be a UFC fighter. I think he's going to get another opportunity. I just don't think that he's going to win his first fight. I think this is you got to put him against someone lower level than Jesus Aguilar on your first fight if you wanted to see him get the dub, and especially to be a minus 200 favorite.
Yeah, you know what? The odds were puzzling me a little bit. So I like the points you guys are making for Aguilar. I'm certainly not going to add him in my parlays, I don't think, but I'm going to lean Stuart Little, aka Stuart Nicholl. I'm going to go against the grain here. I kind of like, if I can make a UFC comp, maybe like Brady Heastand, which is kind of very obscure and random, but he's got that relentless wrestler in him and that kind of scrappy grinding. He's always the little guy. He's usually undersized against his opponents. He will be certainly physically in terms of muscle mass against Aguilar. So I don't think he's going to want any parts of Aguilar striking on the feet either. When Aguilar crashes in there with punches and kicks and knees, Stuart Nicholl's going to look to body lock and grapple up. I just do think that Aguilar can get wrestled. I think Mendonça had something. Mendonça's not really a wrestler, right? Like, he had some success with his grappling. I think Little can grind and wear away and maybe kind of fatigue at Aguilar a little bit with his just annoying, like almost like Gamrot-esque wrestling attack where he just kind of stays on you sticky. But we'll see it. I mean, I don't understand the price tag at minus 220 right now, so I don't want to lay that. And the guys think it's worth a shot at Aguilar for that reason. All right, we got another fight to discuss on the prelims. Luana Santos, minus 180, taking on Casey O'Neill, plus 145. Interesting matchup between two flyweight women. And Santos, maybe best known for her judo, right? Her grappling skills. The judoka got the hip tosses and those throws, and they worked really effectively in her last fight. She actually beat the judo player Stephanie Egger as well, showing that she could take on an experienced, savvy grappler. So I like what I've seen out of Santos so far. And hey, not to be a brutish man, but I like what I'm seeing out of Santos. I mean, she's a looker, man. She is fine as hell. I know a lot of people love some fighters, Mackenzie Dern being. I think Santos blows them all out of the water. Okay, now enough of my animal brain. What do we think about the fight itself? Casey O'Neill, pressure wrestler, boxer herself, looks to move forward, put hands in your face, and then maybe get her own ground and pound and grappling going. Slick, she's plus 145. Do you think this is too much for Santos and Casey O'Neill puts the boxing on her?
I don't think it's too much for her, but I just think she's going to go through some adversity that she hasn't went through her last three fights. And me personally, I think O'Neill, like, a lot of people look at her last fight against Lipsky. Like, Lipsky actually hurt her on the feet, and that's how she got the club and stuff. So I just don't think, like, looking at the career of Santos, too, like, she beat Miller, Juliana Miller, trash. Maria Agapova, trash. Stephanie Egger, she beat her up a weight class. Stephanie Egger threw like 20 strikes that fight, trash. So I think this is going to be a fight. Honestly, this could be contender for fight of the night, I think. I think both these girls are just going to sit in the middle and clash. Casey O'Neill has little to no head movement. She's going to eat a punch to give a punch. Like, we even seen Casey O'Neill throw out 200-plus strikes a fight in that Roxanne Modafferi fight. So I think this is a good spot for both these girls to just stand and bang. As a pick, I'm a lean O'Neill. I think O'Neill could stuff the takedowns and get it more her way in the striking and the stand-up. But, hey, man, Santos is on the tear. So I'm going to just take probably the over 2.5. I think both these girls are tough enough to last to the last bell. And I think O'Neill makes it a little dirty. And Australian crowd going to get her hyped up. So, hey, I'm going to lean Casey O'Neill on this spot.
Wow. Casey O'Neill and Luana Santos contender for fight of the night is not something I was expecting him to say. I thought that was going to be a slick Henny break there for sure. My problem with Casey O'Neill is that she, like Slick said, she doesn't move her head. She moves forward. She takes so many punches down center line. She's got toughness. She's got grit, Mr. Plus, but I don't love her fight style. Like, she just can take damage. She can get reversed. She tries to bring the fire, but if it doesn't work, she's the one on the opposite end of it. What do you think of her in this matchup?
Plus money whiskey break. I am going to take a whiskey break during this fight. However, I got to side with you, Danny. And I think definitely well known for her judo, also well known for twerking. And as a man, I want to see it at the end of the fight. I'm trying to see it. So I'll be back for about the end of the second round, watching through till the end. I agree with Slick. Over 2.5 is a lock city. kid, Lock City Beach. We can curse on this podcast. And then, so that's the lock of the night. And then I like Luana Santos. Her ceiling's higher. And yeah, if she wins this, she's breaking into what? Casey O'Neill, I'm looking at on Tapology's 18 versus the 34 rank. So she's going to take her ranking or get herself close to the top 15. I like that. She's on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC, 1, 2, or a few before that in the LFA, which is, the UFC come up. Yeah, I give me the twerker, give me all that fun stuff at the end of the fight, and I hope she does get it done. I did like what Slick said though. This is probably her biggest step up for competition, and she could face adversity in this fight. So we're gonna see how she reacts versus just beating the shit out of girls, pretty much. So I like Santos. Give me the booty shaking, and yeah, she's. I like what I'm seeing too, Mr. Brasco. And,
give me the cheeks for the W here. Cal has a take on this one.
No, just really quick. The Rozenstruik Tuivasa fight by KO and this to go over is going to be a parlay for me and a play for the week. I think that just hits. It might be a little bit chalky, but I'm going to probably put 2 units on it. So,
all right, there we go. Cal got his own podcast as well. Don't Tap podcast. Follow him as well, and that's going to be a play for him from the picks over there. So I like it. All right, guys, good stuff. Santos and O'Neal covered there. I'm leaning Santos, but yeah, it's a weird one. I'll stay off. All right, man. UFC 305 from Perth, Australia. Adesanya Duplessis. We did the damn thing. Mr. Plus, leave the people with some final parting words for this card. What do you got?
I mean, this 305 card almost looks more stacked than the 306 Sphere card. So get ready, get your popcorn out. This is going to be a fun one. And don't overbet. If you're following any of our bets, you'll see that we always tag it with some units. And because we like watching these fights, we don't like losing our shorts. So just be responsible if you guys are betting. And I saw Brasco, that post you made on your story was so funny. He's like 9 fights or whatever just to break even. Hey, bro, that was a good night. You didn't lose any money. It was fun. Here we are. We're back.
So funny, man. Sometimes you put up like 20 units on a fight night card. You're up huge. What a win. Oh, my God. How did he lose? What? I got robbed. Break even. All the ups and the downs and the good times betting. Good times betting with my boys and everyone watching here at the channel. Slick, what are you excited about on this fight night card?
I'm actually just can't wait for the main event, man. So much storyline, so much to really put together. Like, can Jenkins make a great run? Can Izzy come back and become great again? Hey, man, I can't wait for the main event. But at the end of the day, I can't wait for all of these fights. All these fights are good fights. There's probably 1 or 2 Henny breaks, but I'll be waiting for commercials for a lot of my Henny into the Saturday.
Only 1 or 2 Henny breaks mean it's a loaded card for Slick, right? No reasons to go away from the TV.
That means it's going to be a good one if Slick's only taking a Henny break or 2. Better have the bottle next to you, my dude. I know I will. I wanted to also say it's officially fight season, boys. We got Dana White's Contender Series on Tuesdays. PFL finishing up the season this Friday and next Friday, and then they go into the playoffs. And we got UFC pretty much every Saturday. Maybe there'll be 1 or 2 off, and then right into football season for us, boys. And we love fights. We love football. This is our time of year.
It's a great time to be alive right now. And guys, stay locked into the channel because we're going to have Dana White Contender Series picks for you guys. We'll have PFL shows as well. So a lot more to come. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're dropping likes and comments, helping us grow because we want to grow your bankroll with you betting UFC. And let's take over, guys. It's the D'arce Podcast. It's Mr. Plus Money. It's Slick Montana. It's Cal on the 1s and 2s. It's me, Danny Brasco, saying peace out and good luck on your 305 bets.
Jasmine Jasovizzi is here. Don't forget to tap into the D'arce Podcast.
The D'arce choke is a submission executed from the front headlock position. It involves encircling the opponent's neck with the crook of one's arm, while the other arm wraps around the opponent's arm, applying pressure, leading to a tap or unconsciousness.
Tap into the D'arce Podcast.